Hello everyone, welcome to our podcast Work Harder, and we are talking and reading from the book Managing in Turbulent Times by Peter. And today we will talk on managing innovation and change. First, I will read a few passages from the book and then I will discuss something related to it. So let's move on to the topic. And before I get started, and I will share that from next episode on, I will change the theme about of the podcast, so you will really like it and find it attractive. And so, managing innovation and change. So this looks like an interesting topic, and change is always good. And if you hope for good, and change always brings you something good in it. So, in technology, as an economics, the 25 years of you can say from the Marshall Plan to the early 70s were years of extremely rapid growth and development, and yet they were also years of continuity. The most important feature of the technology of the post war period was not innovation, it was the extension of modern technology to all parts of the world as a consequence of the penetration during World War II of the most remote corners by modern armies with modern armaments and modern methods. Lhasa in Tibet is still not listed among the world's commercial airports, but it is the exception. But even in Lhasa, I suspect there are people who have television sets through the surrounding mountain would seem to bar electronic signal apart from such remote corners as Tibet, the highlands of Bolivia, Albania, or the jungles of Amazon. There is hardly any place in the world today that cannot be reached by telephone. No place where people need to be told what the mushroom skull cloud in the movie or on the television screen means. No place where movie and radio have not penetrated and transformed life far more drastically than the railroad transformed the lives of people in the 19th century. The Indian government is pursuing a policy of small is beautiful and believes that Gandhi's one major mistake was to push the spinning wheel. Yet, to a visitor driving through the Indian villages, the pervading impression is not of an old age poverty and old age disease and old age misery. It is rather the brand new, you can say, bicycles outside each miserable hovel, and it is the transistor radio which turn out full blast and blares from every passing block carts, every camel cart, every elephant howdah. It is the crowds at the village markets who stand 10 deep around store that offers motorbikes or small tractors or television sets, even though there is as yet not television reception in the area. But while the penetration of technology accelerated greatly during the 25 post-war years, technology itself largely continued along paths that had been laid out earlier. The new technologies of the 50s, 60s, and 70s were in the main based on science and knowledge that had been produced before World War I and certainly before 1929. Two major clear exceptions are the computer. Even though many of its basic concepts and technologies were largely developed in 20s, and computer knowledges of later vintage are only now beginning to have substantial impact. And in medicine, the miracle drugs of the 1950s and 1960s, which go back to work done as late as the 40s during World War II. In the 25 years after World War II, a continuous refrain was the acceleration in the speed of technological change, but this was largely a misunderstanding. What actually accelerated was the awareness of technological change, and technological change itself probably did not speed up at all. It maybe even had slowed down. Certainly, there was nothing between 1945 and 1975 comparable to the technology changes of the 60 years between 1856 and World War I. These began with the discovery of the first synthetic dye, the design of the first working dynamo, and of the typewriter. They ended with the first powered flight by the Wright brothers with Lee DeFrost's Audion tube, and with symbolic logic, which provided the basic concept of electronics and data processing, including the very concept of data. During that 60-year period, a new invention leading almost immediately to a new industry was made on average every 14 to 18 months. In the period between 1947 and 1975, only two truly new industries emerged: computers and systematic drugs, beginning with the sulfates of the late 30s and the antibiotics of the 40s. The next 20 or 25 years are almost certain to be more akin to the years before 1914 than to those between 1947 and 1975. It is fashionable nowadays to believe that technological change has come to an end, and indeed to believe that it is not desirable and can be stopped. This is not new, it is the common reaction in a period of rapid technological change. It was the reaction of the 1830s when the Luddites, the machine wreckers, were far more visible than the innovators. It was the reaction of 1890s, the last period of disenchantment with technology in Western history. But just as the Luddites and technological pessimists of the 90s made no lasting impact, so it can be said will today's romantic objection to technology remain ineffectual. It can cause serious dislocation, and the fear of new technology of the generation of H.G. Wells in 1890 seriously crippled Great Britain and ensured that she would stick to the old technologies of the 19th century, falling behind in the science-based technologies of the 20th century. But it did not impede nor even slow down the worldwide spread and advancement of technology. It only shifted technology and with it economic leadership to new eras, and it is also the only possible result of the outcry against tomorrow's technologies in today's developed countries. It is popularly believed that the lead time between new knowledge and its conversion into products and services has recently become much shorter. Not so the lead time is today what it has been for a very very long time, but 30 to 40 years. So first of all, guys, I will say that today is the last, you can say, read of the book, Managing in Turbulent Times, and I did 3 episodes on this book, and I read few interesting paragraphs from it, and I hope you find something interesting in it. So far, I could say that this book is more informative, and if you want to learn about history of technology or business, how the product started, how the business started, and what was the peak years. And there's a this is the really informative book, and this is kind of novel, but it will be also helpful for those who are in university, or and it will be also, it could be include in history books, and it could also give you the idea of productivity and managing, and it's like learning from the past, and from your past, you can say, who experienced the civil war and how they come out of it, and all the history in it, and why the technology was not uh, going up, and why there's no upgrade in it. And there's lots of information, and when I was reading it in it, and I was like going into the and I was forgetting that I'm recording the podcast. So it is really interesting book. So guys, if you want to buy it, you can buy it on anywhere online. It's available everywhere. And let me tell you the last name of the book, which is Managing in Turbulent Times, Peter F. Drucker, and it was written 10 years ago. And yeah, it is an imprinted of HarperCollins Publishers. You can visit www.harpercollins, HarperCollins.com, and you will be able to find the book there too. And thank you guys for listening. And from tomorrow, from my next week, I'll be talking related to other books. And if you want to know and like how I read it, and you find it interesting, don't forget to subscribe and click on that bell button. Thank you guys for listening again. Like, subscribe, and share. Bye bye.